Hey all, Heretic here, and while we're waiting for some news to drop about nerfs, buffs, whatever they might do, I figured I'd do a quick ranking of the tier 7s, since I've had a lot of games with them now, and I just want to give you my input. Well, this is my thought. It might not match your experience, but this is what I think of them. The context I'm going to give is you triple into them, and this is actually a good card, or at least it synergizes with your board, I should say, and then I will also qualify it later in separation of the ranking, just if you find them in general and whether or not it's anything you want to use or do anything with. But let's jump right in and see what kind of shenanigans we can find in this silliness. First of all, we start with Amalgadon. Amalgadon works on every board, can adapt multiple times, does work with cheesy cards like Rylak and Young Murk-Eye, but overall, I don't feel like Amalgadon isn't the powerhouse it once was. No, true, if you have a board of them, it's still incredibly strong, but I think now it is really just a decent card. There are so many more token heavy builds that can rip it apart and just so many crazy builds. I feel like it kind of just sits as a C for me. It is not the insanity that it once was. Next up is Papa Bear. Papa Bear is a solid beast card that does crazy things. It summons 3 Mama Bears. Well, if you're playing your typical beast board of Banana Slammers and Mama Bears, you throw this thing on there. Obviously, it's going to synergize, get great value, give it Reborn. It's insane. This, for me, is S tier. If you are not playing beast and you find it, it still can be a good chunk minion to put in the back, throw out there. It's not insane, but it's still good even if you're not playing beasts. Captain Sanders. Captain Sanders, you make a friendly minion golden. If you triple into this, it is awesome. Doesn't matter what you're playing, it works with every board. Captain Sanders to me is S tier because while he's not insane, the fact that you can make anything gold is insane. Captain Sanders, this one doesn't matter what you're playing, S tier to me. Oracle Morgl. Poisonous. When you kill something, when it attacks and kills something, it'll buff a minion in your hand. I like this card, and in theory, I was super excited about it, but it is slow. Now, if you triple into this and you have a full Murloc board, you're already hand buffing, I'm going to say it's very good. It's not breaking like some other ones, but it is still very, very good and can buff your board to insane levels depending what they have. But they have a lot of divine shields. It doesn't do anything. And it's still only typically killing 1 to 2 minions a turn, and so late in the game it is not as amazing as others. I'm going to say it's a solid B. If you're not playing Murlocs, definitely too slow. You're probably not hand buffing, so no. Obsidian Ravager is a cleave style attack with also kind of a first strike aspect. So what happens is when it attacks, it applies its attack to the target it's hitting, then it applies it to a random minion to its right or left, and then it will do its normal attack if the initial target survives, where it can take damage too. Now, it's a dragon, it's tier 7. When you're getting it, if you have a ton of scaling with Caligoses, it can be insanely good. But if you don't have much, it's not going to get very big. It's at least good at taking off shields. And it is very good if you can scale like crazy. I'm going to give it an A because it is so low on the attack initially. If you can get more attack, and the fact that its initial attack doesn't make it take damage really makes me put this as an A. If you're not playing dragons and you find it though, it's essentially a dead card, unless you're lucky in your menagerie, in which case, hey, great, slot this thing as your dragon slot, go nuts. But even then, solid A. King Varian is universal in what it works because it doesn't matter what tribe you're playing. When you get it, you're going to sell it. It's going to give you 2 tier 6s. Every tribe essentially has something useful at tier 6s or neutrals you can find at tier 6s. So I feel like King Varian is very consistent. Once again, this one doesn't have a tribe, so it applies automatically as no matter how you get it, it's good. I'm saying it's not game breaking, but at A, it is a very solid minion to find no matter how you get it. Reoccurring Nightmare. Now, this is basically a toned down version of Leapfrog. And so that, yes, it can't hop onto itself if you have a Titus, if you have multiple death rattle causing things, but the fact that it can hop around to all your different guys, and since undead typically gets really high attack on their undead no matter where they are, this thing easily can have 30 to 60 attack. And if it's hopping to all your minions because you have a Titus or a Moria or however you're doing it, this is a really, really solid card. This is an S for me if you're playing undead, hands down. If you're not playing undead and you find this, it's a dead card. It doesn't really do anything for you. It's just trash, but otherwise it's phenomenal. Moira Bronzebeard, Your battle cries and death rattles trigger twice is a very solid card if you're playing anything that uses battle cries and death rattles. Because of that limitation, it's not good with every board, but it's good with a lot of tribes and a lot of builds. So I really can't put it over at S like some other tier 7s, but if you're playing Murlocs, this thing is easily an S tier. But otherwise, I'm going to say A because it really only truly shines in a Murloc board for me, but it can work great in Beast and other things. It just is, like, if you're playing Moria, the battle cry aspect doesn't really do anything for you if you're playing Beasts. It is interesting in so much that it is a damn good card. That's why I'm putting it at A, but it's only really an S when you're playing Murlocs, and there it shines big time. Champion of Sargeras. This card is interesting. It buffs the minions in your shop 10/10, which is good, but when you're finding this at tier 7 is really late and isn't insane unless you are playing the, well, and it isn't even really insane when you're playing the perfect build of demons for it. 10/10's good. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not broken insane to me. It still kind of just feels meh. Because of that, because it's slow, I need to put it at C. I'm just never excited when I see this. It certainly can work, and you can show me videos where it's insane, but of all the tier 7s, I'm looking at it kind of going, it's not D, but it's certainly not going to be anything above C to me. Argent Braggart. Don't get me going on this card. Yes, it copies your highest minion stats. If it's gold, it doubles them. Obviously insane. Works great with any build because if you have big stats, it's a monster. If you have a Rylak, if you have a young Murkai, you're triggering these battle cries to make it even bigger. And if heaven forbid it is not a Venom lobby, this thing is broken, frustratingly good. And it works on every board because it's neutral. I'm sorry, this is an S. This is a good 7. It doesn't look crazy until you get a really good board, but tier 7, you know if this is going to work for you right away when you find it, because either you have big minions or you don't have insane minions because maybe you're playing token undead, and that's the scenario where, yeah, this is useless. This is D tier for you, but otherwise, most other builds, this is going to be sitting at S. Witch Zar'jira. Witch Zar'jira is interesting. It has a spellcraft that will give you a copy of a minion in the shop. So anytime you see one, it's essentially 2 cards and one of them is free. Obviously that's good. It sets up triples very easy. It depends when I get it. The earlier you get this, the better. The later, the more useless. I'm going to put it at a solid B because of that. It really depends when you find this card. You get this thing early, turn 10, yeah, you're going to go bonkers. But otherwise, it's just a little slower. Compared to the raw power of some of these cards, it will give you triples, it will give you stats, but it's going to take time. Sanguine Champion. Battlecry, Death Rattle, your blood gems give an extra +1/+1 this game. Now, this is cool, this is fun, buffing blood gems is always great for Quillbore, but here's the thing. When you find this card, it is already late in the game. You've already been buffing your blood gems right along, and unless you have some form of double death rattles, double battle cry, and even then, I'm just not super excited to see about this, because if you still have a Rylak on your board to utilize with this thing, you are greedy and either winning the lobby uncontrollably or you're about to die. Because of that, I have to put it as a C. Once again, there are Quillbore boards where this thing is going to be amazing to drop on the board, but considering how late you're getting it, you probably have a perfectly crafted Quillbore board that's ready to go. So because of that, not excited. Granite Guardian. So it's a 117 that whenever something attacks it, it sets that target's health to 1. Well, it's a taunt. Obviously, you want to have a lot of taunts if you're using this, but if someone runs a Mansion Queen or a Leroy into this thing, you don't care. If it's an undead token board, they don't care. If it's a mech, they might not even care because they had Divine Shield. There's a lot of problems with this card. I almost feel like this card could be sitting at tier 5. This is the least interesting of all of these cards, because even in the perfect elemental board, you don't really want this. They've always had a hard time with some of the tier 6s and tier 5 elementals, if you've seen since the iteration of elementals. And I just feel like this is probably the only D tier. It's just meh. Sure, you can make it grow out of control, but it's still a taunt. It still die to simple things. Not excited about this ever. The Boommobile. I love the idea of this card. It's a 12/12 magnetic Wind Fury, Reborn, Divine Shield, Taunt, gives your guy everything you need. But it comes late. It's really only good on a Foe Reaper. You don't want to put it on a Deflecto. If you're at tier 7, yes, you could just drop it right on one of your mechs who are already insane. But considering the state of your board already, the only thing this really adds to your board that you're excited about is Wind Fury and maybe Reborn, maybe Divine Shield. I mean, really, yes, if you could put this on a Foe Reaper, it's balls to the wall, great. If it doesn't have everything else already on it. By this stage of the game, it probably has Taunt, Divine Shield. Yeah, it's got Taunt. You can take that off now. Because of that, I'm going to have to put him at a B. I really want to put it higher, the Boommobile, but it just doesn't quite do it for me. I feel like there's more interesting things they could have done with tier 7 mechs, but then give it more time to play with it. I've only seen it a couple times. Most of the time when you see this, you won't even know you saw it because it's magnetized. You'll just have to look for the Wind Fury and the Reborn and go, oh yeah, that's how they did this. Folks, that's what I think on tier 7. What do you think? This is just my initial take after a day of playing. I've played about 20 games. I had a good time with tier 7. I think some of these minions are interesting and some of these minions are garbage, but this is how I would rank them. What do you think? Where would you put them? Have you seen some crazy things that have made you rethought where they should go? We're going to have a lot more news videos. We're going to have a lot more guides and interesting things coming out. But while I'm getting a grip on the meta, I really wanted to throw out something simple and fun that we could talk about and see what, everyone's take on it is. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the Battlegrounds. Until next time, have fun. Later.